Hello, and welcome to another video. And in this video, I am messing around with a set of oil pastels. They are the super soft oil pastels and accessories from a brand called Boyle. It comes with 8 pastels, palette knife, masking tape, 3 drawing paper, 3 sheets of drawing paper. I said that very badly, sorry. And a frame and some information, as this is very much a beginner-friendly kit. And a Boyle is a sort of umbrella company. It is an Australian company founded in 1977, and they have a lot of different sections, different corporations under their umbrella. They do a lot of different things from suitcases to kitchen supplies to arts and crafts to auto memorabilia. So like decorations of classic cars and tin sheets and whatnot that you can hang up in your man cave or the like. But yeah, it's definitely a company that I was not really familiar with until looking into it here. They are dedicated to improving the environment. That is something in their mission statement. So that is pretty good to know. So I'll leave that information down below. But mainly with this, I found this set when I was putting away some of my recent supplies that I brought in my trip to Japan. I came across this set that I completely forgot I had. And I have been wanting to try out impasto and different oil pastel techniques for ages. And as this was a relatively cheap set when I brought it. I think I got it for $20 at Bunnings. It is pretty inexpensive, and I am not so worried about wasting the supplies, which is always a concern of mine when I buy things that seem too nice, like I'm not allowed to use them. So I really just wanted to have some fun and really test out impasto techniques. So I thought I'd use all of the sheets of paper and test out different things. So this first picture is of a flower. I very much made up the colors. The reference image was a white flower with a white background. So I definitely wanted to play with that. I'm going to come back to that picture at the end once I've used the others, because I didn't want to accidentally do too much of one color and not have it for the others. But in the end, I do have plenty of pastel left over. I always overthink things. But here I'm really trying a sort of drag tilling technique to get a lot of thick pastel down to give a really nice sort of sunsetty sky. And I really enjoy doing that. But something to keep in note. So these are cheaper oil pastels, and they are super, super soft. Possibly the softest oil pastels I've ever worked with. And I was working with them on a relatively warm day. Not so hot, like it can get extremely hot down here. I live in the cooler part of Australia, which can be quite cold. A lot of people get very surprised at how cold it can be, but it can also get quite hot as well. But it was a relative, so probably around 22, 26 degrees. I'm not sure exactly. So it's sort of a nice, moderate temperature. That's in Celsius, of course. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry. But the pastels were melting a little bit in my hand. Not crazy or anything, but they were definitely a little bit squishy, which is something I have never come across before. Not like this. It made it very, very easy to apply thick layers, as in this painting with the sky there. You get those really thick, beautiful streaks. But it was a weird sensation in the hand. Now I don't know if they probably would work better in like slightly like cooler weather. So maybe when I play with these again, I should wait till midwinter. Um, but I do imagine I am someone who does get sweaty hands when I hold things. I just get a bit clammy. So I imagine that this might be like a reoccurring problem. But it is good to note. But otherwise, these are really, really beautiful pastels to work with. They don't feel cheap at all. They don't go down cheap. And they're really, really beautiful colors. So they have your very basic colors. They don't have names or anything. But you've got white, yellow, a very peachy orange, a beautiful pink, a light blue, a dark blue, which borders on teal. So it's a little bit of green in the dark blue, um, a true green, and a very blue purple. And they go down very, very beautifully. And so you can get some really, really thick techniques uh, without even using the palette knife. And as you'll see when I finally do use the palette knife, I had a lot of difficulty with it. I don't know whether I'd put things down too thickly before or just like issue with the weather. Everything was just that bit sticky. It didn't want to stay down. But I will get to that when I get to that. As it is, I do enjoy how well I could just smear this down. Very thick, pasty strokes. And I think it turns out into quite a nice art piece. I'm quite happy with it, and I definitely I enjoyed working on all of them, but I'm very happy with the center one. And then I thought for this final piece, I would really push myself out of my comfort zone and do a person. I find people very intimidating. I love scenery. I think uh, there's very little you can do wrong with scenery. It's very much fluid, particularly in the style I like to do. I'm very much a lover of impressionistic styles. Um, I like my art to look very painterly. And I haven't always had the best luck with people. Um, Particularly because I was being lazy and didn't really feel like doing a sketch beforehand. I had a extremely light, just sort of like outline of like, yeah, this is like the shape of a person, so I could follow. Um, and I was using a reference pic as a guide. Um, but usually when I draw people, I am very, very rigid, and I'm like, okay, I have it drawn down to the nth. But I didn't want to do that here. This was just for some fun with some pastels that, aren't light fast. So these aren't things that are going to last on display. That's just for a bit of fun. So it was it was definitely pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and I ended up being decently happy with it. And I did enjoy working with these pastels, even as they were a bit melty and getting a little squished. They were very, very fun. And I do really like these colors together. I think they work really well. And it definitely, when you first look at it, it looks like a floral set. Like pastels just scream like, oh, yeah, flowers. You do flowers with pastels. But pushing myself to do a very impressionistic portrait was actually a lot of fun. And so I'm very glad that I did that. And I definitely want to try something like this again. I have plenty of pastel left over, which I was worried I wouldn't because I know doing impasto techniques uses up a lot of um the oil pastel. But when it comes to it, I didn't really do that much with the palette knife, so I did have a lot left over, even as I pushed very, very firmly down. But this was definitely, if you're wanting to mess around with some oil pastels and you're not looking to spend that much money, you don't have any already, I would recommend this set. Boyle, I do believe, does another set that's not pastels. I do like pastels. I think I was going to say they're some of my favorite colors, but I am someone who loves every color pretty much. I would be extremely hard pressed to say I don't like a color. Um, because I enjoy pastels, but I really like moody dark colors as well. I like jewel tones. I like natural tones. I like bright neons in your face. Um, yeah, I like all colors. Um, but yes, as you can see here, messing around with the palette knife a bit, I found it much more useful to do sort of work with it after I'd laid stuff down with my fingers and really like sort of stuck it on there rather than cutting it up with the palette knife. But the palette knife did help shape things. So definitely very cool. I'm so glad that I tested it out. I want to test it out on some different sorts of oil pastels, maybe something slightly harder because this seemed to be like a very unique mixture of the just gooey is the wrong word, but that is what I'm like feeling. Like they was slightly gooey. They weren't wet or anything like that. I think I'm overemphasizing how um just pasty they were. Paste like is probably a better term than gooey. Um Gooey gives the complete wrong description. Forget gooey. They were paste like. But it was definitely a lot of fun and I'm very happy with how it all turned out for just some slapped together fun paintings. Um, Now for the favorite part, love peeling off the tape, but I must have put so the paper there didn't rip. The paper was fine, which can be a bit of an issue sometimes, paper ripping if you haven't stuck them down. But it actually pulled away some of the pastel that was over the edge. I think maybe I'd done it too thickly, um, which is something to maybe test out again. But yeah, it pulled away some of the oil pastel there, which I don't mind. I'm happy with sort of a slappy edge. I do raw edge stuff all the time. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I love looking at how thick it is there. There's just so much texture on that page. Um, a decent bit there as well. And um, a fair bit on the lavender as well, but definitely most on the flower. No, I'm, yeah, I definitely recommend this set for sort of like beginner messing around with oil pastels. Um, So yeah, I had a lot of fun. I hope you learned something, or if you have any advice, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, thank you for watching. And if I'm lucky, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.